someone a nitpicker, I mean someone who's fairly pedantic. But in Stuart times, it was a real profession, wasn't it?
It was, and it was an important job. People had nits and lice on the body and nits in the hair, and we had to get rid of them. And there's lots of evidence of people who worked in families or would go from house to house with a specific job of getting nits out of people's hair.
All right, I'm a Stuart noble. How'd you get the nits out of my hair?
What's difficult about it is there's curls here, and these curls will hold the little tiny eggs that nits make, and we've got to get them out. So here we've got a lovely...
It's a nit comb, isn't it? It's like the ones that we used to use when my kids were at primary school.
That's right. And this early style is the same exactly as now. This one's made of bone, however, and the little tiny teeth work in exactly the same way because, guess what? They're the same nits, laying the same size eggs, and we've got to draw them out.
Yeah, you get all the eggs, don't you, all the way along there?
That's right.
That, yeah.
And we also used lavender oil in the hair, and that also is still used.
Oh, it is a beautiful smell.
That was part of the job of the nitpicker, getting out the nits, rubbing the hair afterwards, or the shaved scalp, as often was the case with lavender oil, in an attempt to deter it. But, of course, it leapt from wig to wig, and wig maker to wig maker.
What's this disgusting stuff?
This is about as disgusting as it gets, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, it's lard or something, isn't it?
It's big fat. It's disgusting, isn't it? And that is put... The Stuart people would put a little blob of this was an idea, and then put it round the neck in a silver filigree basket here.
They wore lard?
Yeah, it's attractive, isn't it?
What for?
The idea is, although lice and nits are dependent on blood to live, they also live on dead skin. Sometimes wigs were treated with flour and baked, or other treatments on the wigs, which meant that they couldn't get into the scalp and take the blood to make them live.
So they'd climb down and try and get the lard?
We tried to draw them, so they would be drawn. So the Stuart people would put this thing here with the idea that this would go then into the basket.
But despite the lavender oil and the lard necklace, surely your wig would get jam-packed full of nits and lice and things, wouldn't it?
Samuel Pepys writes at one point in one of his diaries how furious he was that his barber had sent him a wig that was absolutely thick with nits. It vexed me, he said, that it would be sent in this condition. It had to be sent back to be cleaned. Very poor people, however, wigs were very fashionable, remember, couldn't necessarily afford a wig. To walk around with a shaved head, which in itself, of course, was cleansing, was still a bad thing to be seen on the streets. So people went along to the barber's shop and there would be a box. And you put your hand inside the box. You paid threepence. You didn't know what was in there. You knew it was wigs, but you didn't know what they looked like. And you took your lucky dip. We think that's where it came from. Pull out a wig, and if it was disgusting and covered in nits, then you could, for a penny halfpenny, have another go.
Nitpicking was disgusting, but it didn't damage your health. There was another, more dangerous pest control job. Fumigators had the choking task of purging houses by burning sulphur. The fumes were supposed to prevent infestations and infections such as the plague. They didn't. In fact, they just ruined the fumigator's lungs. Sulphur could also be mixed up into a disgusting emulsion for the walls. So we've got lime in here and the sulphur and an egg.
That's right, to emulsify.
Anything else?
Yes, we're going to put urine in now.
Of course we are. If it's a worse job, it's got to be urine, isn't it? And then we toss it onto the walls.
That's right.
And what does it do?
This acts as a protection against burrowing insects, particularly, and it was painted on walls in an attempt to protect these insects coming in here that we know obviously bring great disease with them. This is another form of pest control, and professional builders would put this on walls. We know about how sulphur was used to disinfect houses in another way. There was a man called James Auger who had brought over a recipe with him for something he believed was very important in disinfecting against plague, and that was amber, saltpetre and sulphur. And he toted this recipe all over Europe before bringing it before the Privy Council of Charles II in this country, who granted him licence to use it for the purpose of fumigation. Fumigation, of course, is a dangerous business. Now, here's the powdered sulphur, and I'm going to ask you now, Tony, to vaporise some of this into the flame to give us the proper feeling and smell of what this would have been like when we were fumigating a house.
And that's why you've put us in a different room, because it does smell so much.
And also because it's dangerous to fabrics, furniture, and, of course, us. So you need to be very careful with this.
And just put it in here like this?
That's right. It's very toxic. Sulphur dioxide.
Oh, can you see it going?
The fumes going now.
Yeah.
I'm getting fumes now in my throat, quite tight.
Oh, yeah, yes, I just got, yeah. Whoa. Oh, it's going. Yeah.
Drop it in there, quick.
OK.
Come on, let's get out.
I think we ought to go out, actually. It's just really stinky, isn't it? You're right, John. That rather took everybody by surprise, I think. Certainly the crew. But I think you'll understand why they took such extraordinary precautions when you see the kind of diseases that they could control.